Hey, dreamers. Welcome back to the Faithful Dreamer podcast. I am so glad that you are here. I'm glad that I am here. I am glad that we are once again here together. So, I have to tell you about this experience I had last week. I took the train from Chicago to Milwaukee instead of driving. I really didn't want to drive. It's not far. It's 2 hours away from where I live, but I was not in the mood to drive. And I also wanted to get some work done. I wanted to maximize my time. And it was also something that was on my to-do list. I have a list of things I would love to do here in the Chicagoland area, and that was one of them, right? So I took the train instead of driving. And listen, I had my whole work set up planned, right? I was going to get these things done. I knew exactly what I wanted to work on. I had my laptop, I had my notebooks, I had the full productivity kit on deck, right? I was going to get so much done. And the laptop never even left the bag. Right? It never left the bag. But let me tell you why. I just sat there. I just sat there watching the scenery go by, feeling this peace I haven't felt in I don't know how long, but especially in let me specify. I haven't felt this type of peace in my travel experiences in a long time, right? And I was sitting on the train and I just had a sudden realization. I was like, wait a minute. This is so calming to my nervous system. I had a whole moment about it. I went on social media and I was telling people about my trip experience because it was so calming to my nervous system. I didn't really even know how to respond to it. I was like, I like this. How many other places can I go by train? So, it was amazing. And now I'm obsessed with the train, right? I'm like, where else can I go from the train, from Chicago on the train, right? And I learned that Chicago is the hub. Did y'all know that? So if you know where I can take Amtrak from anywhere in this country, let me know from Chicago, because I am writing a list of trips that I need to take via train, right? I can take the plane. I'm fully plane capable, right? But there is something so different, so calming about the train, and I really just can't explain it to you. Maybe it was that it even though the train is moving fast, it just felt like life was slowed down a little bit. I don't know. You tell me what you think, but I enjoyed it thoroughly. And I think I'm a train person now. So let me know. Are you a train person? Do you enjoy this train life? And tell me where else I can go, and maybe we can have a group trip on the train. I don't know. Because I'm hooked. I'm hooked. I'm stuck like Chuck. All right. Well, I tickle myself, guys, but that whole experience is kind of the perfect introduction to this week, because last week we went deep, right? We talked about the spirit, we talked about the mind, we talked about the body and our emotions, all that internal awakening work. And just by judging my DMs, some of you all had a full-on breakthrough with that experience, which I completely understand, because I go through them real time after they drop too with you all, and they affect me the same. It always causes me to reevaluate where we're at. But here's the thing that I keep bumping into. You can have all the spiritual enlightenment in the world, but If your bank account is giving you anxiety attacks and your relationships are still surface level, something might be still missing, right? And so internal awakening that never makes it to the street is just really expensive therapy. And we need the internal awakening. It's very important, but it also has to extend to our external awakening. So this week, we're asking what happens when awakening shows up in real life, in your wallet, in your work, in your relationships, in your ability to actually enjoy a Tuesday. So we're calling it external alignment, right? These are the 4 areas where your awakened heart needs to meet the real world: wealth, mission, relationships, and wonder. Basically, all the places we say we trust God, but our lives might tell a different story. Okay, so this is how this works. This podcast is the overview of the entire week. We're just talking about it all, right? Tuesday through Friday are the full devotional drops if you want to go deeper on our conversation tonight. And the links for the devotionals will be in the show notes. So go and check out the link so that you can walk through the week with us. And if you want to do this with people instead of just alone in your car, join the Dreamer Circle. And there's a link in the show notes for that too. We'd love to have you in this space. We meet every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time to do a group coaching session. We're calling it the Dreamer Circle Alignment Session, where we're in the space together. It's not me just talking. We're having conversation. We are growing together as community, and we are living this thing out. We're not just having conversation that goes in one ear and goes out the next. We are actually embodying what we are talking about in this space. And so I would love to see you there. This circle is for you. Okay? So this isn't just about getting your life together. It's about letting the transformation show up where it counts. Here's what I've been noticing. A lot of us have done the inner work. We are aware. We are conscious. We are awakened with quotation marks around it because our bank accounts, our calendars, our relationships, our joy levels, they're still running on the old operating system. What that means for us is that there's a gap between what we believe internally and how we're actually living externally, between the peace we feel in prayer and the anxiety that we carry about money, between knowing our calling and actually doing anything about it, between preaching authentically and keeping everyone at arm's length. Internal awakening that never quite makes it externally is just self-help that makes us feel better but changes nothing. So this week we're asking, what does it look like when internal transformation actually changes external reality? There is this verse in James 2:17 that I am sure we have all heard before. James says, faith by itself, or as we may have heard it growing up in church, faith without works is dead, right? And that's kind of harsh, right? Doesn't it sound harsh? But he's on to something. Internal belief that never shows up externally isn't really belief at all. It's just opinion, a really good opinion, nice thoughts, spiritual Pinterest quotes that make us feel good, but they don't change anything. Jesus says in Matthew 7, you will know them by their fruits, not by their intentions, not by their theology, not by how woke they are internally, but their actual, visible, tangible fruit. Which means for us that your external life is a pretty accurate mirror of your internal reality. Your bank account tells the truth about whether you really trust God's provision or you're just saying you do, which can be tough for a lot of us to think about, right? Your calendar reveals what you actually value, not what you claim to value. Your relationships show whether you're really vulnerable or just talking about being vulnerable. Your capacity for joy and wonder reflects your actual trust in God's goodness. I don't know about y'all, but thinking about that makes me really like pause. It makes me sit with that because it requires an ouch, right? And I'm not an expert in these conversations. I am a fellow traveler with you on this road. And so if it stung for you, it might sting for me too. And I am only able to give what God has given me to walk through, right? And so here's the beautiful part about this. When your internal awakening starts showing up externally, that's when everything shifts. That's when real transformation can happen. And it's a revolutionary experience, right? Because you're not just thinking differently, you are living differently. And that, my friends, that changes everything around you. So this week, we're exploring these 4 areas where your internal awakening needs to meet external reality. 4 places where what you believe internally should be showing up visibly in how you live. And before we dive in, I want you to try something with me. Think about one area where like you know, there's a gap between what you believe internally and how you're living externally. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's how much joy you're actually experiencing. Got it? Don't fix it yet. Don't even judge it. Just notice it. Because awareness is always the first step. You can't align what you won't acknowledge. Okay, let's talk about where awakening meets the street. The streets. Let me just say this. Christians are a little weird about money. Can I say that? Is that okay? Well, it's going to be for this podcast. Whether we spiritualize it to death, God will provide, and He will, and He can. But we have to make some changes too. So we're either on that spectrum, saying that He's going to provide and not making any effort to change, or we're worshiping it in secret while pretending that we don't care about it at all. And so here's my confession, right? These are my confessions. I feel like that should be a section on this podcast. But I've been guilty of saying that I believed in God's abundance while operating from a space of scarcity, right? I've been in a space before when I would tithe and still check my bank account constantly and have a low-grade anxiety attack about the money that was either there or not there, right? I would give generously and then immediately oh my God, should I have not given that? Should I have held that for myself? Like, I've done that before. And I genuinely, I, you know, had to wrestle with the contradiction, because here's the thing. If God is as faithful as we say he is, then why do we live like he's not? Ugh, ugh. It's painful, right? It should sting a little bit if we're living like that, because here's the truth. Our relationship with money is spiritual. Jesus talked about money more than he talked about heaven and hell combined. Not because he cares about our 401k, right? But because he knows that money reveals your heart faster than almost anything else. How we handle that reveals our heart faster than almost anything else, right? And so there gets to be some conviction for some of us. Everybody might not feel convicted on this, but some of us might feel some conviction on this if we are not trusting God fully, and it shows up in our finances. Matthew 6:21 reminds us that where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Not will be eventually, is right now, at this moment. Your bank account is a theological document. When you think about it, it really does map out where our heart is. And so most of us are living in this massive gap between what we say we believe about God's provision and how we actually relate to money. We say we trust him, but we're secretly terrified when it comes to this hot button topic. We preach generosity, but we're gripping our resources like it's a safety raft. Like we just jumped off of a boat and this is the raft that is supposed to get us to safety. And here's what I'm learning. Awakening to abundance isn't about having more money. It's about trusting the source. It's about releasing the death grip that we have on it and making financial decisions from faith instead of fear. And that's not always easy. But when we do, that anxiety that we've had, that chokehold that money has had on us, loosens. The comparison stops. You start to see money as a tool for the kingdom instead of a measure of your worth. All right. So this week, we're exploring what it's going to look like for us to align our financial life with our awakened heart. Okay? Everybody good? Okay. Let's keep going, because here's the next point of reference where we really have to spend some time asking questions. Are you really actually doing what you were made to do, or are you just existing? Going through the motions, collecting a paycheck while your soul slowly dies of boredom. Because there's a difference between having a job and living your calling. And most of us know it. I spent my 20s in jobs that paid decently, right? They paid decently, but they made me, some of the jobs made me feel dead inside. And it wasn't because they weren't good work. right? It was, I was in nonprofit organizations doing a whole lot of different things in those spaces for people who really needed the support that the nonprofits gave. And it was great, right? But if it is good work and it's not God work, then it's just good work that isn't in alignment with what God has created you to do. Therefore, it becomes out of order. And I justified those spaces when I was there. I'm being responsible. I'm adulting. And this is what, mature Christianity looks like, right? But the whole time there was this quiet voice saying, this isn't it. You know this isn't it. And so you can only move in disobedience for so long before it starts to take a toll on you. And for me, I feel like it showed up in a wild way. And anytime that I am out of alignment with what God is asking me to do, it shows up in a wild way. Is it just me, or do you feel that too? Right? Anytime I'm out of alignment, everything feels out of order. And it makes me have to really go and get quiet again to figure out, okay, where we at? What's out of order? And what do I need to do? Right? Unless there's something I clearly know the answer to. And sometimes I'm like, all right, we know that this particular thing is out of alignment. We have got to readjust. But when that quiet voice shows up for us, it's hard to ignore it. I tried to shut it down because bills, because security, because what if I'm wrong about my calling? What if I step out and fail spectacularly? So I stayed in those jobs. I stayed in those places that didn't fit, right? I stayed in those roles that drained me and in a life that looked like I had it going on, but felt kind of empty. So is that just me, or have you all experienced anything like that? Okay, I'm talking to you all like you're in my living room or in my kitchen, and that's just how we're gonna roll because it's real. It's real, and I know that I'm not the only one who's been there before. But here's what I'm learning, right? Your calling isn't optional, right? Like, I know we treat it like it's some luxury item. Oh, if I'm fortunate, or if God just decides he wants to show it to me, if I'm blessed enough to figure this thing out, then I'll understand what my purpose is. I'll be in a good position. It'll be great. But for now, I'll just do whatever pays the bills. But that's really not how God designed it. And it doesn't always have to be in your 9 to 5 work. But there is something that we are all created uniquely to do, right? There is our collective purpose, and there is our unique purpose. And we don't figure out our purpose all in a day, right? We're not going to wake up and say, oh, I know this is my entire purpose for life, and this is how we're going to carry it out, right? It doesn't necessarily work like that. I wish it does, but it doesn't, right? But they're assignments that God calls us to. There are things that are unique agitations for us that awaken us and align us to what it is that God is pulling us towards, that is in alignment with our purpose, right? So Ephesians 2:10 says, "We are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Did you catch that? He prepared these things in advance for us to do. Before you were born, God designed specific work for you. Isn't that great? It has your name on it. It's designed for you to walk in it, not generic works, not whoever gets to it first works, your works, things that were created specifically and uniquely just for you to do. I know in my life, right? There are these threads that I'm, that we can pull on, and I can look back over my entire life and say, I understand that didn't make sense at the time, but it makes sense now. That didn't make sense then, but it does make sense now. And it's this amazing thing, this amazing way that God uses everything that has ever happened, the good and the perceivably bad things that happen in our lives to get us to certain points. It's all when that verse says, all things are working together for the good of him who loves the Lord and are called according to his purpose. He means all. I don't know about you all, but that excites me a little bit tonight. Listen, all means all. He uses it all. And we could have testimony service tonight, and I could tell you part of my all, but we don't have enough time in this podcast. But I will say, all means all. So if you are worried about something disqualifying you from what it is that God is calling you specifically to do, if he's called you to it, if he created you for it, if he has your name on it, he knew all the intricate details that would get you to this point, the good, the bad, the nasty, the ugly, all of it. And he allowed you to get to this point so that you can carry out your assignment in full. That thing is good to me. It is not interchangeable. You are not interchangeable. Your calling isn't something that you create on your own. It is something you discover as you are walking out your life journey and you step into it. Now, you can choose to do something else, sure. But if he called you to it, if he put your name on it, then baby, that thing is for you. It might be difficult, sure. It might challenge you, yeah. It might make you feel like it's weird or make you uncomfortable to step into it because it's calling out something different from you than you may have expected for that time. But if he's called you to it, if he put your name on it, then you are equipped and you are prepared to take the first step. And anything else that you need as you go on your journey, he will provide it as you are walking it out. Baby, that thing is good to me. All right. Because when you are living aligned with that calling, even hard work feels like it matters. Even challenges feel like they have purpose. But when you are out of alignment, even easy work feels soul crushing. Your mission isn't about finding the perfect job. Sometimes it is a job, right? But it is about aligning your daily life with the deeper calling on your life. We all have a call. Yours might be different from mine. In fact, I'm sure it is. You might be carrying it out different than me. In fact, I'm sure you are, right? But we all have something that God has uniquely created us to do. And it's about doing that work that flows from who God made and created you to be instead of who everyone else thinks you should be. And here's what we get to sit with. Living your calling is sometimes terrifying, okay? Let's see. Ooh. If you could be a fly in this house to know how many things have terrified me that I know that God is like, walk in that, that's for you. Go that direction, that's for you. There's something even right now that like we are transitioning in, right? There's something even right now that me and God are working with. And like I'm doing what he said. But honestly, this assignment is terrifying to me because it has completely realigned or reordered everything. Everything feels like it's like completely been put into like a, you know how you put all the pieces in the Scrabble bag and shake the Scrabble bag up and now you have pieces everywhere, all the letters are different places. That's how my life feels right now. Everything feels like it's been shaken up, right? And I have these pieces in my hand and I know how they're supposed to be used, but nothing is in the order that it once was. Everything is just scrabbled. And it's scary. I cried this morning about it because it's scary. But it requires our trust. If our faith in God never challenged us, if our faith in God never felt like we're out here and everything feels crazy, if our faith in God always felt like we're on this linear line, then it will require no faith at all. It requires no trust at all. The thing that makes our faith and our trust really make sense is the nonsense. It might not make sense to you. That's why it requires you to trust God. It may feel very foreign. That's why it requires you to trust God, because you don't know how to put the pieces together. You're just out here trusting God, literally. Sometimes having faith means that we say no to safe options. It means that we have to be a little risky. It means that we may be possibly disappointing people who have other plans for our lives. It means that we might risk failure or rejection or even being laughed at sometimes in pursuit of something that matters to God. But you know, it's even more terrifying than that. Getting to the end of your life and realizing that you spent it building someone else's dream while your calling sat on the shelf collecting dust. And something that's terrifying for me specifically is if I move in disobedience and don't do what God has called me specifically to do out of fear or because I procrastinated on it, that I'll see someone else doing the thing that he called me to do. Because here's the other thing. Yes, he put your name on it. Yes, he assigned you to do it. Yes, he called you. But if you don't show up, it will still get done. But it might not happen the way he wanted you to do it. In that part, I don't want to be walking down the street and seeing somebody do what God called me to do, or scrolling on social media and seeing somebody do what God called me to do. And it's so specific that I know that he gave it away, right? That would hurt my heart. What would hurt yours? So this week, we're asking, what would it look like to actually align our work, our time, our energy with what we were made to do? Not for someday, for now. We're not really promised anything past today. You're actually not promised anything past this moment. And so how vital is it that you live like today matters? There's a song, I think, from, is it the Winans? I think it is. And it says, I don't know if I want to sing to y'all tonight. But it says, tomorrow, who promised you tomorrow? You better live your life today, because tomorrow very well might be too late. Because your calling isn't waiting for you to retire. It's waiting for you to wake up and walk in it today. I feel like that deserved a Selah. All right, can I ask you something? When was the last time you were truly yourself in a relationship? Like fully you. No mask, no performance, no carefully managing how much of the real you to let someone else see. For me, I show up pretty much as myself in every room, in every relationship, and maybe a little bit too bluntly sometimes in my relationships, because I'm like, well, here's what I'm doing and here's what I'm not. Here's what I'm accepting and here's what I'm not. Here's what I know, here's what I don't. Not all the time, but a lot more in this spot in my life, this space in my life. A lot more just, this is me, this is who I am, this is what you're going to get. But there was a time when I had gotten really good at performance, right? I could easily read a room. I still can read a room and adjust my personality to fit the room, right? And give people the version of me that they'll like the best, right? And it was exhausting, but it was also safe for that space, right? But it's only safe until it's not, because eventually either you are going to be too exhausted to perform, or parts of you are going to start to slip out the real you. One or two is going to happen, but performing for people can only last so long. Because here's what happens when you show up in relationships with a mask. You get loved for who you are pretending to be and not who you actually are, which means you never feel truly known. You're surrounded by people, but you feel lonely, connected but isolated because you're wearing the mask. You're pretending. You're a great pretender. But they don't really get to know you fully, and you don't get to know them fully because you aren't being true to who you are. And that's not really living, friends. That's just existing next to other people. Jesus says in John 15:15, I no longer call you servants because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. Friends, not employees, not followers from a safe distance. Friends, which requires mutual knowing, vulnerability, showing up real. And if that's how Jesus relates to us, maybe that's what he's inviting us into with each other. But sometimes we're scared, aren't we? What if they see the real me and they decide I'm too much or not enough? What if I'm honest about my struggles and they judge me? What if I stop performing and they leave? So we keep the mask on. We keep that safe distance. We have 1,000 surface level connections, but no one who really knows us. And we wonder why we're lonely. You can't have authentic connection without vulnerability. You just can't have it. Intimacy requires risk. Being fully known means someone might not like what they see, but it also means they might love you for real instead of loving your performance. 1 John 4:18 says, perfect love drives out fear. But most of us are living the opposite. Our fear is driving out our love. Our fear of rejection, of being too much, of not being enough is keeping us from the very connections our souls are craving. And so what if this week is about taking the mask off? Not with everyone. That's not wisdom. That's just trauma dumping, okay? So not with everyone, but with someone. With one safe person. What if you let them see the real you and trust it that you are worth knowing? Because you were made for connection. Deep, real, authentic connection. Not the Instagram highlight reel version. The messy, honest, I'm a disaster sometimes and you love me anyway version. Okay? That's the version that you are loved for. And that's the version that you were made for, right? We're not always perfect. Perfect Patty has got to go. And there are people out there who want to love you in all of your facets, in all of your realms, in all of the ways that you get to show up. I love, love, love having some close people in my life that I can just be full out me all the time with, right? People I can laugh about crazy stuff with, people I can cry with, people I can be serious with, people I can talk about what God has been showing me with, like people I can go deep with, people I can be very surface with, people who just love me fully. Um, and I love them back in the same way. I love having those type of people in my life. And so this week, we're exploring what that looks like to show up real in relationships, to stop performing and start connecting with people, to let yourself be fully known. And sometimes it's scary, but it can be so, so worth it. All right. Now, here is something I have been practicing lately. Just noticing, being present to beauty. And it's wild how much wonder is available when you actually pay attention. Like I was at the park last week and the light hit the trees just right, and I actually stopped and stood there and let myself be amazed. And a year ago, I may have just walked right past that moment, mentally just running through my to-do list. But I'm really learning. God is really just like making me sit in this space of having a childlike capacity for wonder. It's not something we're supposed to lose. It's not something we're supposed to train ourselves out of. This childlike capacity for wonder is supposed to be carried with us through our adulthood. Jesus says in Matthew 18:3, unless you change and become like little children, you'll never enter the kingdom of heaven. Little children who are experts at this thing called wonder. They find the magic in puddles and in cardboard boxes, right? They can be completely present to a moment because they're not worried about the next 17 things on their to-do list. And Jesus says, hey, y'all, hey, my adult friends, that's the posture I need you to have. Not childish, right? When we became a man, we put the childish ways behind us, man/woman. When we became a grown up, we put the childish ways behind us. And so he's not calling us to be childish. He's saying be childlike, be open, be curious, be capable of being surprised by beauty. But most of us, we've trained wonder right out of ourselves. We're too sophisticated for delight, too busy for beauty, and we have become way too cynical to be moved by the ordinary, everyday miracles. We call it maturity. Jesus calls it missing the kingdom. Wonder isn't frivolous. It's not a luxury for people with extra time. Wonder is how you stay awake to God's presence in ordinary life. It's how you remember that everything is a gift from God. It's how you access joy that doesn't depend on circumstances. Psalm 19:1 says, the heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands every single day. Creation is shouting about the glory of God. And most of us, are so numb, so busy, so checked out that we don't even notice. We've traded awe for efficiency, mystery for certainty, and delight for productivity. And we wonder why we are exhausted. And here's something else we don't talk about. Here's why wonder is important. That childlike wonder, that capacity for being able to hold awe is really what helps our faith to show up. Faith means that we have to be able to believe or hold something that might seem impossible or improbable. Faith means that we have to be able to tap into our capability to imagine or dream or believe that there's something else that God wants to do. Which is why Ephesians 3:20 reminds us that God can do exceedingly and abundantly above all that we can ask, think, dream, or imagine according to the power that's already at work within us. But if we can't ask for anything greater than what we see, if we can't think about anything beyond what we currently can see in front of us, if we can't imagine anything greater, then how much exceeding is it, right? How much more abundant is it? It's far greater than anything that we can ask, think, dream, or imagine, but we actually have to do the work of asking, thinking, dreaming, imagining. We have to do that part. And that's where wonder shows up, in our ability to believe God for something amazing, right? In my prayer, I often end with, awe and amaze me today, God. Blow my mind. Show me something I've never seen before, because I honestly want to see him do something crazy. I want to see him awe and amaze me in a real way. And I'm out here with this wonder, just looking around, waiting for God to do something I have never seen him do before, just looking for God to just show me something, right? And I'm kind of like that kid in the back seat. It's like, are we there yet? Are we there? What's going on today? What are we doing today, God? What are we, like, what's happening today? Like that's the place I want to stay. I don't always get there every day, right? Some days I am very much so adult-like. But as often as possible, I want to be in that childlike faith. I want to be able to believe God for crazy things. And I want to have a wonder that is just in awe of every little and big thing that he does in my life. And I want that for you too. So this week we are recovering our capacity for wonder, not by doing more. God knows you're doing enough. You are doing enough. But by slowing down enough to notice, to let yourself be amazed, to find God in the light through the trees, the laugh of someone you love, the miracle of your own breath. Wonder isn't about adding something new to your life. It's just waking up to what's already been there. God is always showing off. He's constantly showing off. The question is, are we awake enough to see it? So here's where we are, friends. Internal awakening is beautiful. But if it doesn't show up in how we relate to our money, our work, our relationships, in beauty, wonder, they're just good ideas. So this week we are closing the gap. We're standing in the place between what we believe internally and how we're living externally. And here's the good news. Every gap is an invitation. So where's the gap for you? Is it in how you handle your money? You just say you trust God, but live like it all depends on you? Is it in your calling? You know what you're made for, but you're playing it safe instead? Is it in your relationships? You're surrounded by people, but no one really knows you. Is it in your joy? You believe life is a gift, but you're too busy to enjoy it. So here's what I want you to do between now and the end of the week. Pick one area, just one, where you know there's a gap, where your internal belief and your external life aren't matching up. Write it down and be specific. Not, I should probably handle money better, but I say I trust God's provision, but I check my bank account 5 times a day with anxiety. Then ask, what would it look like to close the gap this week? Not perfectly, just one step. On Tuesday, tomorrow, or today, depending on when you're listening to it, it could be Friday. But grab that wealth devotional from the show notes. We're going deep into what it looks like to move from scarcity to trust, from gripping to receiving, from anxiety about money to actual peace. And listen, if you're doing this alone, you're missing out. Join us in the Dreamer Circle. We're working on this stuff together in real time. And honestly, it's so much better with people. There are also so many resources and tools in there that can help you to actually walk this thing out and not just read about it or listen to the podcast, but move it from concept to reality. And it's so much better when we're able to put these things into play, put these things into action, than when it is us just taking in information and putting it on a shelf for a rainy day. So the link is in the show notes, and I really can't wait to see you in the circle. Here's what I know. You can't fake external alignment. Your life tells the truth about what you really believe. But here's the beautiful part. Every gap is just showing you where the next growth is, where God is inviting you deeper, where awakening wants to become real. You don't have to fix everything this week. You just have to start. One area, one step, one honest moment of, okay, God, I see the gap. Help me close it. So 3 things before you go. 1, check the show notes, grab the devotional link, subscribe and save. Also, when you go to the show notes, go ahead and sign up for the Dreamer Circle. We're gifting you 3 months because we know that you would make a great addition to our space. Secondly, identify your one gap. Write it down. Be honest. Be honest. I'm not going to read your paper, but God knows you and you know what's true. So be honest with yourself. Be honest with God. And lastly, tell someone you're doing this. Share this with someone. Share the podcast, share the devotion, share the Dreamer Circle. And then breathe with me. You're not behind. You're right on time. And external alignment isn't us being perfect or even trying to become perfect, but about allowing our awakened hearts to change how we show up in the world. One day at a time, one gap at a time, one step at a time. I'll see you next week. But until then, my friends, let your life match your heart. This is the Faithful Dreamer Podcast. Let's align together. You got this.